Do you crave books filled with mythology, where history and mythology mix in a world that is so savage that everyone is numb to it? Then guess what? I got a book for you. Hello, I'm Pete. This is Ponderings of Pete. I got another book review for you tonight, and this was a really exciting read. Took me about 2 days because I was pushing it. I really liked it. That was Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. By the by, let's talk about this a little bit. This was my first John Gwynne book. I'd not read Faithful in the Fallen or the other series that also is in the Banished Lands, but it takes place afterwards because it's 8-9 books that I don't have time to put in my TBR right now, but in the future I will. Why should you read this book? First of all, the amazing thing about this book is how intertwined the mythology is with the world. From the time this is a minor spoiler for the mythology of the world that's explained pretty early on, gods died a little bit ago. Only like 100, maybe 1,000 years. And their bones still litter the world. All of that and the results of that war constantly affect the world that exists as it is at the time of the book. This is based on Norse mythology, which I don't have that much experience with, and John Gwynne sprinkles in a lot of words from that part of the world. Whether you have Seaxes, which I'm not entirely sure what they are, but they're like tiny axes, or they're swords or daggers. I'm not sure. There's a Harangar, I think it's called, which is a duel of honor, which plays its own part. John Gwynne has created a vibrant world in Shadow of the Gods. The imagery portrayed in this world is also quite epic. I mean, the mountains are literally accumulated from the bones of one of the dead gods. And there's a city that is built in the dead god's head. Like in its skull. It's a snake skull, and they built a city in it, which is he does such a good job of painting those images. And there are monsters about that are a constant threat to our heroes. There are 3 POVs in this. Time to segue. Orca, Elvar, and Varga. And they each have different starting points, and they don't know each other at the beginning. They're almost in 3 corners of the world. Varga's in the middle of being hunted. Orca is enjoying her life with her son and her husband, and Elvar, she is enjoying her time as a member of the Battle Grim, which is the best way to describe it is it's kind of like a Viking raiding party. And correct me if I'm wrong, anybody that knows better than this. Kind of like a raiding party, traders, all around, hey, we fight things for money. Mercenary band. That's the word I was looking for. There's definitely magic in this world. In order to use any sort of magic, you have to be what is called tainted, which is a very negative connotation on basically meaning that you have the blood of the gods running within your veins. And which god determines what type of, powers you have, essentially. Which is really cool. And, normal people hate tainted because of whatever reason that you will find out. And he starts touching on this theme of, basically racism at different parts in the book. Let's talk about pacing for a little bit, because I think the pacing was a little interesting for me. The way John Gwynne's writing style works is his chapters tend to end very abruptly, whether it is in a cliffhanger note or in some other sort of abrupt ending to the chapters. And I, especially in the beginning of the book with the pacing, I experienced a bit of, emotional whiplash, because I would go through one character that was going through something very emotional, and then their chapter would end abruptly, and I would go to another character who was going through a training montage, which emotionally is completely different. So there was a little bit of emotional whiplash. Near the end, when everything starts ramping up, that resolves itself. Because all the stories are coming to their conclusions, coming to a conclusion. All the stories are a similar tension. So you don't have as much of that difference in emotional level That was interesting. Because of this, I would recommend reading this book slowly. And what I mean by that is I would recommend reading this book ideally in 1 to 2 chapter stints. Because what happened was, while I was reading, I had to stop reading the book for dinner, essentially. So I stopped the book, and I stopped it at the end of a chapter on a really pivotal moment. And the chapter ended on a cliffhanger, essentially. And I was just sitting there at the dinner table reeling. So the purpose of reading this 1 or 2 chapters at a time allows you to sink in and process the emotions that the chapters bring you, instead of being kind of like forced into continuing another character's chapter when you still haven't processed what just happened. Definitely a good book. The pacing's a little weird from what I've been exposed to. Definitely a book to read bit by bit. Other things I liked. What did I like character-wise? Because of this weird emotional whiplash between the characters, it took me a little bit to get to like the characters. I think overall, I believe I liked Elvard the most because of some things that happened with her storyline, and because how this is probably considered a very, very mild spoiler because of how bits and pieces of her storyline are connected to the overall mythology of the world. Essentially, there was a lot of little things with her storyline that you learn a lot of lore about the world in that helped me enjoy it more than the other two. Varga's storyline was also very interesting for the journey that he went on. And I think of the 3, his is the most complete of a storyline, if that makes any sense. His storyline came to the most satisfying ending. I have been told that if you check down below, there's a Shadow of the Gods live show that already happened. It was hosted by Alan from the Library of Alexandria, and his guest this month was Abby from Abby Salter. They did it. This was because this was a Shelf Space buddy read. That was the live show for Shelf Space because Jessie May is out on maternity leave. I say that like BookTube is a job, which technically is because self-employed, but she's on maternity booktube leave because she just had a baby. Really cute. I'm very interested in reading the next book of the series when it comes out. Really happy that I picked this up. Definitely check out Shadow of the God. John Gwynne is an amazing writer from just this one book, and I'm looking forward to getting into Malice. If you like this review, give it a thumbs up. Didn't like that, I can't help you. Tell me in the comments. Comment below what you thought of Shadow of the Gods, and if you think you would like to buy Shadow of the Gods. Also, there's a link down below that's an affiliate link. I get a portion of the money if you buy, because not starving artist quite, but I'd like to buy a house, so this is part of it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely night.